Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is our quintessential QC. Say hi, quintessential QC.
Hi, quintessential QC. That's a tongue twister. Holy hell.
Yeah, look, they're getting harder and harder as I go into this. My TJ Dumpster one, I think, is the worst one that I've done because he's this sensational sound mixer, and I was like, it's too many S sounds in there.
That had to do with my warm-ups. Unique New York earlier.
I was not look, I get into words that mean I googled the phrase words that mean good that start with the letter and then whatever letter I need to populate
Fantastic.
the rest of it. Anyway, Jack, thank you so much. People have been calling for this interview for literal months.
That's wild.
Like a while back, I posted on Reddit and I was like, hey, who would you like to see me interview? And like one of the top ones, I should say, in the clarity of the thing, I was like, look, I know every cast member you want me to see interview, so don't list cast members.
Yeah.
But
we're working on Brennan. It's fine.
It will never happen, but we're gonna ask about it once a week until someone gets tired of me asking and just says, fine. In like one of the top comments, maybe the top comment was, find out who makes captions for Dimension 20. We must know more details about them. Because they're truly so beautiful and so lovely. But obviously, we're not going to start there. Have you ever talked to Kyle Rohrbach about working with LeVar Burton?
No, Kyle and I interfaced a little bit when I was peeing on Dirty Laundry, but not enough to talk about working with LeVar Burton. No, but I've worked with LeVar Burton's daughter.
Yeah,
but
Look, I got on your look. It's always going to be a weird start, and that's very intentional. I got on your LinkedIn, and one of your it scrolled down to the bottom. It was like, people Jack is interested in LeVar Burton, and it was like the only person on the list. All
right, well, I'm gonna have to look at my LinkedIn later. Okay, interesting.
I was like, hey, Kyle Rohrbach worked for Reading Rainbow.
So I didn't know that. That's very cool. Yeah, no, Mika's great. I worked with Mika on the D&D and Chaos streams.
Yeah,
that we produced over at Hyper.
Yes, super interested in those. Yeah, the Hyper RPG Chaos streams. For the folks who don't know, what beautiful thing that lives forever on the internet came out. I'm talking about the Citizen Doctor, obviously.
Dr. Merhembler.
Yeah. Truly, Evan Kemp. Forget about it. This is the greatest name that's ever been invented. Abraham Hermbler, Citizen Doctor. What was it like working on just pure madness?
Yeah, well, and I was on Brennan's camera that first shoot, the first two streams too. Wild, absolutely wild. Just absolute chaos. Truly, the energy in the studio was bouncing, but also that man moves so much for sitting just at a table. I'm like, Brennan, I can't keep... My camera only has one arm on it, and I have to reach around to zoom and focus everything. I need you to stop moving so much. But, they were very fun. Truly just chaos, though. And the studio itself is pretty small that we were working out of. And, I don't know. It's just, the kind of standard Brennan chaos that comes with a wild character when he isn't the one who has to run it.
Yeah, especially it seems like when Abria is running it, Brennan's like, well, I'm gonna get extra nasty, right. Which it makes for great TV.
Hilarious. It was very hard not to laugh when he said the name at first. Yeah, but it also was after a string of names that got funnier and funnier as we went around the table. So
yeah,
Rudy Vega right off the top.
So good.
Classic.
I mean, straight out of the Ravening War. Those streams were always fun. Carlos Luna was on those as well, right? Sort of masterminding the madness.
Yeah, we were the production house for Roll20 who were producing them. So they were streaming to Roll20 / being recorded for the most part. We recorded them and then they streamed them to Roll20. But Carlos incredible mastermind producer just comes up with great ideas that just slap every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get why Dimension 20 was like, hey, you want to come work here a lot?
Right,
Instead
yeah.
of just like a little bit. Jack, let me ask you a really important question. Isn't watching episodes early of Dimension 20 the fucking best?
It's very good. It is difficult to hold in all of that information, especially like, I mean, recently it hasn't been as bad. When A Crown of Candy was airing, we skipped the week where, spoilers for A Crown of Candy, Calroy does the coup, does the turn, and I don't remember if it was either that episode or the episode where Jorn was being hanged in the town center. We skipped that week because of other outside stuff happening in the world, and it didn't feel appropriate to air those episodes at that time. But holding on to that information for 2 weeks was brutal, because we did like a 2-week gap of holding on to those episodes and just knowing, oh, Calroy's a traitor. I now need to sit on this in the Discord for the next 2 weeks. Cool. Tight.
It's so much fun. Yeah, I remember. So my early episodes started in Bros End, and I got some junior year episodes early, but not a lot, not all of them. Which, oof, the pain and anguish. But I got the premiere for junior year early, and like
I think you got that one before me, actually.
I mean, look. Sometimes I don't know why. I don't understand. There is no rhyme or reason, seemingly, to it. Like, it's just like, they're done, and here you go.
Right.
But yeah, that one was really fun because obviously, like, we got our beloved heroes of Squeam, and 2 other characters whose names instantly have left my mind.
Balthazar?
I want to say, yes, that was the one. I always want to say Bartholomew, and I know it's not.
Balthazar, whose name I don't remember.
Yeah.
But they've been here with us the whole time.
Yeah. That one was so fun because like I was watching it and by myself, and I was like, who are these characters? Because it's been like years since I've watched sophomore year, and I was like, I don't remember them at all. And so like I Google like Dimension 20 Fantasy High Squeam, and there are no results, and I was like, okay, then this character is new, because the Dimension 20 fandom wouldn't miss someone.
Right.
Like someone would have been talking about it. So then I think on a stream the day it premiered, someone asked me for one word that I could say that would mean nothing then, but would mean so much to someone when they watched the episode, and I said Squeam, and there everyone was like, what does that mean? And I was like, you'll get it when you get it.
You'll find out.
Yeah.
That it's wild watching a screener beforehand and going, oh, this is a very funny bit. I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of this bit in the Discord.
Yeah.
And that happens multiple times throughout just any show, of being like, this is very funny. There are going to be people who do not get that it is a bit, and that I now have to salvage. But it's fine. It's just, that's life. So...
Yeah, not only are you one of the folks responsible for captions, but you were the, goodness gracious, community manager, there's the word I need, for the Discord. I guess maybe still technically, I don't know, do you go to the end of the month with them?
I guess. I think I put it on LinkedIn as having ended Sunday, just because there's not really much more for me to do this month, and there's 2 more days left. It's fine.
But yeah, the Discord. Like, how are you feeling? It's gone. It's
weird.
Past tense.
Yeah, it's weird. I had been in it since January 2020. Initially as a fan, having been brought over by the McElroys, for Tiny Heist. And then had been really into sophomore year. Sophomore year kind of put its grips into me once I had caught up on everything. And Tiny Heist was still airing. So it was just Fantasy High, Bloodkeep, Tuck, and then Tiny Heist had only aired, plus sophomore year was airing. So it was a lot easier to catch up at that point. Um, but was really starting to connect with folks through just theorizing about what the fuck is the reashling, the ashling alk. And I'm like, fucking Brennan using Irish. All right, come on, I'll dig into that. And then I went on tour for a month and a half, February into March 2020, and then COVID happened and got sent home. And after having done a new city every single day on tour to absolutely nothing, I started bugging my friends who were the moderators to be like, hey, tell Andrew to mod me because I need something to do and something to be responsible for. And that kind of turned into me becoming the mod captain. And then, in November, community manager. So it's been a long 4 years. And it's really weird to not have it every day to just even glance over and check that everything was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those live chats, it was especially Dimension 20. I mean, I don't know how anyone read anything. I don't know how you attempted to moderate. But I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some numbers got thrown out when the Discord got announced that it was shutting down. But like 1,000 people in there, just like basically all commenting at the same time.
Especially for Intrepid Hero seasons, it's much busier.
Yeah.
We used to do that on YouTube.
How do you even attempt to like see it?
That's an excellent question. People have asked me that several times, and I never know how to give an answer for that. I don't know. I just I keep my eyes on it, and if I see something, it's a lot of just glancing over and making sure that people aren't being weird. I don't know if it's a skill that has grown over the last 4 years of just being able to read very quickly and kind of gauge the energy in the live chat room or what. But I used to do both the Discord live and the YouTube live chat back when we were doing both. And thank God we're not doing YouTube premieres anymore because those moderation tools are non-existent. They're very difficult to use. I don't know. It's just I've always been a fast reader, and so you just kind of keep an eye on things. And sometimes you're like, "Wait, did I miss something?" And you scroll back up, and then you have to catch back up on chat. But it's fine. And there are multiple of us, and we're multiple of us in that chat anyway. So you kind of rely on each other.
Yeah. God, speaking of YouTube moderation, someone left like a real like gross comment on a video of mine not long ago, and I was like, God, I would like to block this person from my channel, and YouTube was like, no, that's not an option. And it's like, but why? Why is that not an option? And they're like, you can mute their comments, and I'm like, I mean, that's a plus, but like, I would love it if they couldn't watch the things that I do.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the options are because I think you just hide people.
Yeah.
In the live chat for YouTube, I don't think you can even ban them. I just never
YouTube's
again.
Been around too long to not have better moderation
tools. Just look at Twitch. Twitch has all of the stuff that you need. Truly, just I know you can't literally copy them YouTube, but for the love of God, take some inspiration.
Yeah. I back on the Discord though.
Yes.
I'm obviously there were problematic times in the Discord. Times when just all hell broke loose. For good and bad reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, not to like get in the weeds on it, but were there moments where you're like, none of this is worth it? We should just shut the whole thing down.
Yeah, several times. Most of the times it was this is a good enough good that it's worth it, but a lot of the times it just everything stacks on so much. Liz like, all right, burn it down. We're good. Burn it down. But that also happens on like tours of you're running on something so long that every little thing that goes wrong suddenly starts bugging you and you just kind of burn out and want to burn it down. So it happens, and not frequently, but several times. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, sort of when they made the. I mean, obviously, like it probably was about November that they disbanded the Sam channel, the Ask Sam channel.
When did we do that? I think we moved that actually more in. I think we kind of ended it more in December, but it was around that same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, at the time, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. You should
Yeah.
not, you, the average Discord user, should not have this much access to the CEO of
Right.
the company.
Well, and Sam was having less and less time to be able to check it, and
Yeah.
it just would turn into someone would ask a question, and then 100 people would comment on that question before Sam could, and it just didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
It just, the Discord had gotten so big.
Yeah.
Just
Sam
too big.
answered one of my questions once, and it was very exciting.
Oh.
It was the first of many times that Sam spelled my name wrong. But I was excited because I was like, he does know who he's talking to. He just
Sure.
doesn't know how to spell my name, and that's fine.
Yeah.
He's
I
a
get
busy
that.
man.
I used to get Megan a lot. People
From-
really had issues with Morgan.
Interesting.
I would introduce myself as Morgan, and people would be like, "Oh, Megan," and I'm like, "No,
No.
no,
Those are
that's
two
not."
different names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously, like, we just got the news like a month ago that the Discord being shut down.
Yeah.
And a sort of, I mean, a similar sense in my brain of like, yeah, this makes sense. Of like,
Yeah.
there's too many people in here to not have like full-time like global moderation of like, all right, we need someone who can cover the hours of like when America is asleep and like, you know, like
100%.
and then but then also like there's not enough people in here to pay for full-time
Right.
global moderation.
Yeah. I had submitted a budget request for it because we had been talking when Andrew promoted DNI. We'd been talking, and it's like, really love to kind of expand the mod team, but also if we're going to keep talking about certain issues in this Discord, just along with the amount of people in here outside of even those issues, the amount of people talking is 24 hours, and it just isn't. I can't in good conscience ask someone to volunteer for the amount of work that is required, even one day a month, when you have to kind of just be kind of on call the rest of the time in case something happens. And yeah, just unfortunately, just not enough active users to make it a worthwhile business decision, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember when NPR shut down their comments section, it reminded me exactly of this, because people were like, no, don't! And then NPR was like, there's like 20 of you who comment on every story, and that's it. And so they were like, we're not going to keep having these. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. If it's, like, I'm sure it's sad for I think in the announcement, it was, you know, like 1,000 people basically who are using it all the time. And I'm like, very sad for them. And then obviously the like, giant moments of like
60,000 people.
Of I don't think you heard me. I said blimey. Like then it's 160,000 people all at once writing blimey in the chat. Also shout out to I posted this, but like shout out to the person whose team name was that at a trivia I went to last night.
I saw that.
Apologies, you came in second place to my team, the Cookie Monsters, but you know, them's the breaks.
Them's the breaks. That's the game.
Yeah. It was very fun I haven't gotten to play in so long, and it was super fun to show up and win first place. And I was like, yeah, this is why I come to the table.
I can't remember the last time I did bar trivia. I think I've only done it once or twice, and it feels like something I would be good at, but I just don't go out that much.
Yeah.
But I think the last time I did it was on tour before shutdown.
Yeah. I can. I don't know if I don't think I've played since. I think this was my first like post 2020 time playing, because the last time we played, we won first place, and our team name was, if you don't let us win, we'll lick your face, because COVID was becoming a thing, but like wasn't a thing yet. And so
that's a wild team name.
truly a wild team name. Really, and then like next week, the literal next week, that everyone was like, okay, everything is shut down. I'm like, our joke wasn't as funny, or maybe funnier. I don't know. Real funny that that's the last time that this, like, I think the bar shut down because of COVID.
No.
Like, so it's literally like the last time anyone played trivia at that bar.
Wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
But yeah, it was very funny to like, because just like we got there a little late, my wife and I, and like hearing the team names get read out and hearing the phrase, "I don't think you heard me, I said blimey," and then immediately like looking around the bar to be like, who just reacted to that? Who here is going to appreciate that I am rolling an old school Roll for Panic Attack, like the original font T-shirt, and it plugs butt ugly stuff hat or Stuff Hut hat. So
it's wild to see how much Dropout has grown over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Like I temp from time to time when I'm not on a show or whatever. And the last place I temped at, one of the other admins was a Dimension 20 fan, and when they saw my name on like the admin list, they were like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about being recognized in the wild just by my name. And a lot of the times it's not even because of the Discord, it's because Brennan has said my name in APs.
Yeah.
With his flair of Morgan E. Lavandowska.
It's very good.
Yeah, at Gen Con, someone recognized my last name and said, "You mean like Morgan E. Lavandowska?" And I'm like, "Yes, hello. I would like to disappear now. Goodbye. I'm a stage manager by trade. I am not meant to be seen."
Yeah.
But
yeah, I had a coworker. I've had two coworkers who not recognize me from the internet, but like messaged me to be like, "Hey, I love your interviews." And I was like, "Cool, this is weird." But one of them was literally like, I was at my computer and I heard your voice across the room because my husband was on TikTok and I heard you talking about like some stupid Dimension 20 or Game Changer thing. And I was like, yeah, that happens, I guess.
That's wild.
Yeah. But it was very fun because one of the people, they had just seen Ross Bryant and his improvised Shakespeare company in Des Moines, Iowa, where they lived. And it was like a week before I talked to Ross. So it was like,
that's so funny.
Like, I got to be like, I just talked to someone who saw the Macbeths Adopt a Cat, and I watched his face like crinkle a bit, and I was like, it was one of your shows. And he's like, that's where I know it from. And he's like, you have to understand, we do so many of these shows. And so like, as soon as the show is over, like it's all gone, which is, I think, often the case in improv.
Yeah, that's how I feel about DMing sometimes. I'll get so into it. It's been a while since I've DM'd, but even as a player, it's my brain will get so into what is going, and I'm like, I have no way to take notes right now, and we're just saying stuff, and we'll find out what happens. Yeah. And then a player, thankfully, will have been taking notes and summarized last session. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that is what happened. All right, cool. We'll move from there.
Perfect. Yeah. I've moved much more. Like, I'm in a second campaign that I'm DMing. My first one was 7 years. Like, went 1 to 20.
That's wild. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And like that campaign, like it was like I had an Excel spreadsheet and like I had all my notes like prepped and ready. And now my notes are literally just like I open my notebook and I'm like, what do you guys want to do today? Fully just launched into like Brennan on Worlds Beyond Number of like, I got the world, you go wherever you want. But someone actually did want me to ask you about your DMing and very specifically your hand-drawn maps.
Oh gosh.
Tell us about your hand-drawn maps.
Sure. Well, they're computer drawn, with the mouse for the most part and Incarnate, but I don't know. I just draw stuff. For that, one of my maps, Solaris, is the name of one of my worlds. Well, the only world that I have run so far. I wanted to run something. I had already pulled all the mods and then the current editors of D20 into a group, and I'm like, I'm gonna run a game for everyone. You can't escape. You're all here now. And just came up with a world by, like, I think I had seen a TikTok of someone throwing different types of dice representing different types of land masses and stuff. and just threw it on a piece of paper and then traced around what it was and then went from there. I don't really have a process. I just kind of go, that'd be cool. And then one of the mods, Rain Solo, was in the game, and he's like, that landmass couldn't happen because of this and this reasons. And I'm like, look, buddy, it's a fucking fantasy fiction world. I don't care if it couldn't technically run this way. And he's like, that's fine. I'm like, but I am going to fix it because you said it would be wrong. But god damn it. All right.
Yeah, I've used, I don't think it was Incarnate, it was something else, and I'll never remember the name of it. A different map maker, and I made a post on Reddit, and I was like, look at my cool map that I made, and people are like, that's not how rivers work, and I'm like, all right,
that was the issue.
Yeah,
it was also rivers.
It's universally, and since then, because I'm I joined that subreddit or whatever, I see people post maps all the time, and every time I see one, I'm like, someone's going to comment that rivers don't work that way, because I was like, river flows into a giant lake and then flows out to another thing. And people are like, nope, not how rivers work. And I'm like, okay, calm down. Let me have my it branches here and then comes back together. And it's like, nope, all right. I'm like, okay, I'll fix it, because yes, I am going to fix it, but there are also dragons here. Those don't work either.
There's a desert from when two large beings had battle, and it's become a wasteland for 1,000 years. What don't you understand?
Yeah, a red dragon exploded in my world, and there's a desert there now, and there's a city underneath it that you can go to, Avatar style. There's a tower, and you just go down, and there's a city under it. You tell me how that works.
Right. A lot of my world takes from kind of Arthurian and Celtic myth, which has been very fun to listen to Worlds Beyond Number, because I can hear Brennan pulling from other certain beats too within Irish myth, but also very much from Tortal, which I have just all of the Tamra Pierce books just about for that world, which I was obsessed with as a kid. So it's very high fantasy knight type of ideology, but then I took that and then brought it forward to, I don't remember what got me on this beat, to the 20s and 30s aesthetic. I was like, I want to run something in that period, without actually dealing with a lot of the stuff, although some of it came into play on occasion. But so it's a weird mix of fantasy with science is Solaris. But
I had a player in the second campaign that was like, I want to throw bombs, and I was like, got it. I gotta make bombs a thing that I understand how they work now.
I ran a one shot for Brennan and Solaris, which was set at a New Year's Eve party, and being Brennan, God, I love the man, but sometimes he had made student loans a thing in my world, saying that he had student loans from one of the wizarding universities, and I'm like, god damn it, now I have to make that's a thing now. But it's fine, it hasn't come up again, but it's just all right. Student loans do exist, or did he just get conned? That
actually was going to be my next question. Brag about the people you've played with.
Well, Brennan, Bridgman, a good portion of the early editors, at least, for D20. Malika Lim Eubank, Sarah Chaffee, and Knox, Kaylee Bray. A lot of it's from when I was working at Hyper. But I was community manager at Hyper, as well as eventually production manager. So I was a lot of behind the scenes for those. But haven't not a ton of people, but enough that I can be like, I ran for Brennan.
Yeah, Brennan's a pretty big one.
I also played with Brennan, which was fun because our friend Tess ran a one shot, which was a good time. Which is actually where I tested Jack out for the first time, so that was fun.
That's delightful. A friend of mine tested, maybe tested isn't the right word, but wasn't using they them pronouns, played a Pathfinder game with a character using they them pronouns, and now does use they them pronouns. And I'm like,
also
I see where this goes.
I had a character called Wolf O'Connell, who is half-orc Azamar. We all know where I pulled that from. Werewolf that used they them pronouns. And yeah, that was the first testing ground as well.
Yeah.
It's DTRPG's the best testing ground.
Yeah. Are you like current-ish on Worlds Beyond Number?
I have not listened to the most recent episode, but
Great. So I'm
yes.
so much farther behind you than you are. But here's where I knew we were in trouble with the Citadel. It's the episode where they found all the like spirits in paintings, and it's not because there were spirits in paintings. It's because in that episode, Brennan described magic. The Citadel's policy of magic was, magic should be held in the hands of the few, and it cannot be redistributed to the hands of the many, or it would be less powerful and important. And I was like, uh-oh, that's capitalism. That's the bad guy. Brennan can't help himself, I don't think.
Yeah. Cracks me up every time. But it's like, that's what else can you go back to? Sometimes that is the root of everything is greed.
Yeah.
And a fear of losing what you have. Yeah, I don't know.
Such a good podcast.
Slaps.
Let's see. I mean, we should get into captions, right? That's what people are here for.
Yeah.
You are one of the caption writers for Dimension 20, a thing that, like, people who don't like captions turn on captions for Dimension 20 because it gets to add like a bonus joke or to the episode.
I always have mixed feelings about that. Mostly because at the end of the day, captions should just be a tool to help people who are hearing impaired also get the joke. And the fact that we're just kind of describing what happens is itself sometimes a joke is fun. I just get worried sometimes about the efficacy of adding too much to captions. But yeah, it's a whole team. A lot of us were mods initially, and they've kind of expanded the group recently from what I'm aware. But initially the episodes will go out to Rev. Someone at Rev will do the main portion of captioning, which, as the years have gone on, have gotten better and better because we think some people at Rev are now also fans of the show, and so they understand what's happening more and more. So they do their pass. We'll receive those captions. We'll go through and edit as needed to clarify things, adjust a name. A lot of people will get voices confused, so it's having a really trained ear for whoever is talking to clarify those, and then just kind of describing what's happening. It feels less inconsequential than people make it out to me personally, just because it's we're just trying to do a tool that allows everyone to access it, but
I don't think people see it as inconsequential. I think people see it as both helpful and like enjoyable. That basically like a gold standard of captions of like, if all captions were this good, we would watch captions on everything. I personally don't watch because if I am reading and watching something at the same time, my brain can't do both. So I like if there are captions on, I'm like reading the caption rather than watching what's happening on screen, and sometimes you just fully miss things that way. I also hate subtitled movies for that exact reason, because I don't watch the movie, I just read. My brain is bad. That's the problem.
Well, your brain's not bad. Your brain just works differently. I grew up on like British media, and so a lot of heavier accents. So I just grew up on subtitles. Even 20 years ago in 2001, 2004. What is time? I don't like it. But yeah, I just am accustomed to subtitles. But especially having started working on them, even before we were doing the rev process, I had started with Andrew in 2021, where I would just get the SRT file and edit Tuck. I had started on Tuck, of just going through and trying to edit those until we figured out a different system. But just watching regular media now and being like, that is not what they said. And the captions, and I'm like, can I just fix all of the captions all the time, please? It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Especially, it tends to happen with people who have accents that it must be American captioners that just don't understand certain British accents or Irish accents or any accents, that they just get words fully wrong.
Yeah, that does sound right. That is it's my favorite mistake caption that I've ever received. I was on a CNN town hall and I was asking Pete Buttigieg a question, and I said Mayor Buttigieg, and it was on YouTube, so it was auto captions, and it said Mayor Boobage. So really just like aces work.
That's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, one of the has to be nightmares of trying to caption Dimension 20 is, especially in Intrepid Hero season, is the crosstalk, because there's so much of it, especially when they're playing teenagers.
Yeah, I haven't worked on, let's see, what was the last Intrepid Hero season I worked on? Probably Never After was the last one that I did captioning / QC on. And then Burrow's End before that was my last D20 season that I worked on. But yeah, I can't imagine. It's so much. You just kind of do what you can, and you pick out the important pieces of what are being said, and then you just go, the rest of it, I'm sorry. If we could get more on the screen, there's just captioning. There's not captioning, character limits that are within each line, so we can only put so much on there. So just really trying to pick out. All right, did Allie say something important? What the fuck did Allie say? All right, I said blimey. Cool. Yeah, we'll caption that one. I'm sure that's gonna come back up again.
Yeah,
at some
why
point.
wouldn't that? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I know, like, there are fully, I don't know, I mean, not like TikTok accounts, but like people who dedicate themselves to being like, here are my favorite captions from the most recent episode.
That's
and
so
they're like,
wild to me.
Describing, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is describing Emily as Wanda Childa, saying that she said something tinily in parentheses, which is a very funny descriptor for what is happening on screen.
Sometimes it's so hard.
Not inaccurate.
Yeah, it's so hard to describe what the fuck is happening to get across what is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think one of my favorite ones recently is Brennan munching on almonds.
Yeah, that's a very popular one as well. I remember that one.
Yeah. It could have just been Brennan munching, but yeah, adding on almonds is a correct descriptor. But
yeah, we know what it is.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I mean, I think, like you said, like, really does add to, like, people who have hearing disabilities that, like, are trying to enjoy that same experience. I mean, I guess Brennan crunching on almonds, probably not a super enjoyable auditory experience, but
I have misophonia as well, so some of the effects, I'm like, oh, okay, this is my life. Gotta power through it. Goodbye.
So, how was working on Burrow's End for you then?
Yeah, look, you just kind of have to power through it sometimes when that's your life. Burrow's End cracked me up because there were two Brits at the table, and I'm gonna have to put D a little bit on blast because D was the captioner before me, so we'll split into teams. At least this is how we did it previously. I think it's changing in the near future, where someone will get the captions from Rev, they'll do their pass of captioning, and then it'd pass over to a video QC person. So myself, D, B, whoever, would go through and mainly look for any video or audio issues within the file itself. So, like, say there's not a graphic that's supposed to be there, like a T-Rex, maybe, like in Pirates of Leviathan, we would hopefully catch that and let them know so they can edit it in time. Also look for content warnings. And then the other lesser needed part is doing caption corrections on top of the caption corrections that have already happened. And just some Britishisms that I just grew up with, D couldn't quite hear, maybe, necessarily. I'm so sorry, D. I love you so much. I'm sorry to put you on blast. But having both Jasper and Siobhan at the table, just sometimes it was like, oh, that's so British. No one except people who are immersed in so-and-so would maybe get that. So I'm glad I was on that season, just because I'm like, I was too much of an Anglophile as a kid for my Irish background. But yeah, Brozan just was a whole thing. The sounds and like the bear. I was QCing that episode and I'm like, I have so many content warnings I need to put on this episode. Abria, please.
Yeah, I don't know where. Like it's like the VIP episode with Nana, where it was like, all right, our content warning is as soon as the episode proper starts through the closing credits. That is the length of the content warning, which is like, I know content warnings are serious, but that's very funny.
It's very funny. It can be very funny, but it also is just like, oh, I really do need to just warn this whole episode.
Yeah. Yeah, moment Polly is hitting the table through the rest of the episode, it's truly a nightmare.
And then it's wild for people. I would see people be like, oh, that was overhyped. I'm like, I feel like you maybe watch gore too much. I feel like you might be desensitized to this.
Yeah, I yes, 100% agree. Also, huge shout out to Rick Perry for walking into like seeing the bear and being like, we can make it gorier. Here's what animal insides actually look like. Like I know from personal hunting experience. Make it whiter on the inside, which is just so wild. God, incredible.
What a wild season. I love that season.
QC, which as far as I know stands for quality control, right? Like we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean that process. Obviously, you just talked about a lot about like that process, but like, one of my favorite ones from recent memory is Deja Vu. In QC, someone missed like graphic goes here. And so then like it got added, obviously, and then it was taken down and re-uploaded, and so then it became a wild conspiracy theory on the internet that like it's being re-put on the internet because there's something with the deja vu part. And it's like, no, I think someone just missed it.
It was so fast that we just missed it. It happens. Human error. It's the same with like Beat the Buzzer. I think people were starting to theorize on as well, and that was just we needed to put a fuzz on a person at the outside buzzer that got missed. I remember watching that. I think the first time I was like, you can see their face now. And then it's so funny to see like full conspiracy theories pop up over just like we just missed something. Just like production.
I know you mentioned early on your like McElroy to Dimension 20 pipeline. I was in the same boat as you. Like I listened to Taz first, and then I saw that they had done Tiny Heist. And like I watched the first episode of Tiny Heist on YouTube where it was available. And then I was like, well, guess I'll never see any more of that again. And like went about my day. And then I got in NADPOD. And then like I like saw, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch like Fantasy High. It's on YouTube. I can watch all of it. And the swears were bleeped out. And I was like, I'll give you any amount of money to make this stop, because they swear constantly. And so then obviously like went deep down the rabbit hole. But yeah, I assume that are you a Taz fan as well, presumably?
I am. I haven't caught up with it in a long time. Just all podcasts have
Yeah.
fallen off my radar since not going into an office all the time. Yeah, I actually started with, oh shoot, what was the show that Geek and Sundry did? It was with Will Wheaton.
I know what you're talking
and Laura
about.
Bailey.
I will never get the name of it.
The sci-fi one, which Hank I think was also on.
Yeah.
I started watching that on Geek and Sundry along with like Tabletop, and that got me into CR from very early. So like episode 25, I think, of season 1 of Critical Role.
Like the audio wasn't even great yet,
right? Which is how I met like Danny Carr and some other friends through the community, even just at that point. And I hang through with that. I met a lot of friends to play D&D with, and then some of those friends had gotten into Dimension 20 long before I did. They have more OG cred than I do. And one of them was like, "You would love The Unsleeping City because of how much you love New York. You need to watch this." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll get around to it eventually." And then I think the IAC drop had happened with Sam buying it back in January. And I remember Justin tweeting about, "Hey, we have a season that's coming on Dropout. Give them your support, blah, 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 blah." And I watched that first episode on Dropout. I think I did the tests, like the 7-week trial period, and just watched that. And I was like, okay. And watched Unsleeping City next. And just was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I had gotten into Taz at some point during my CR time. But yeah, don't remember. And then from Taz got into Bim Bam. And then NAPOD was after I got into D20.
I started Taz first. Started DMing myself because after listening to Taz, and this is hopefully no shade on Griffin, but like as I was listening to him, I was like, oh, I get this. I could do this. Like, because in my head originally, like DMing was like super type A. You have everything planned out. You know every possible thing, and I was like, oh, it's just improv. You're just yes anding whatever is happening at the table. Yeah. I can do that. I can be real loosey goosey and have fun. But yeah, then started listening to Bim Bam, it will a Reddit post that I can never find but changed my life forever was like that was a triangle, and it was horny, feral, and I don't remember the third side. And at the corny of horny and feral was NADPOD, and Taz was I think on the feral corner, and Dungeons and Daddies was on the horny corner, and then the middle point of horny and feral was NADPOD, and I was like, well, I like Taz a lot, and I like the feralness of it. I'll check out this NADPOD, and then whoops, but it's also very funny, like having come to it like pretty. I mean, for me, feels very late. Like I started in, it would have been like summer of 2020 when like everyone was desperate for content, like is when I discovered I was already listening to NADPOD, but that's like when I discovered Dimension 20 and then like fell deep in the rabbit hole of Dropout. And it's funny because like, you know, like the Game Changer season that just is about to come to a close, but like I feel like just started. I know it didn't, but like I saw people posting like, wait, there's no new episode next week, and I'm like, oh man, people are so new to Dropout that they don't know every show except for Dimension 20 is bi-weekly. And I was like, boy, that feels weird because I don't feel like I'm legitimate in like how long I've been here. But
yeah, sometimes I'll feel like I'm like, how did I get to this point? Because I bullied my way into moderating. And then the mod team was like, and you're our captain now. And I'm like, what? Okay. Hi. And then that got officialized in November. And I'm like, I don't know what's happened. How did we get here?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that Taz gave you you were like, oh, that's improv. it wasn't until I watched D20 really, I was like, oh, right. My background is in improv. I should just do it. Because I'm definitely one of those people where I'm like, I need to know everything before I start doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the pre-configured campaigns and stuff, I was like, I don't feel like I know enough to be able to run things. So I just made up a world, and I'm like, fuck it. Whatever I make up in a game will be what is real. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I did improv in like middle school through high school and started with that. So it's been a weird run. I've been in theater since I was like 3. So just kind of a natural progression, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, a degree in theater design.
I have many things to say about that tech degree, actually. There were 2 actual tech classes for that degree. The rest of it was art and acting and directing. It was, yeah. If I could do things over, I would not have done that school, but it's okay. Everything happens.
For a reason, who's to say? But everything definitely happens.
I'm very good at arguing with Christians about what scripture means, and that is the actual part of my degree that I use. Because I went to a private Christian college.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I did want to ask if you can teach me how to stream, because I'm so bad at it.
I'm not as good as like Zach Lemieux, but I picked up some stuff, and I can show you around a little bit for sure.
I will say the thing that really broke me was I did a charity stream where I was doing shots of condiments, and everything went great. It was super fun, but
shots of condiments.
Yeah, we raised like $1,100. It was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible.
It was, but the problem was, what's the like ancillary Twitch website that like lets you build all the things on the screen? It's like Streamlab or something like that. StreamYard. I don't remember. One of those. Anyway, the website was fully down. And so everything that I had like built and like tested wouldn't work. And so like everything was broken. And I was like, well, I'm just giving up. And like we literally switched to Riverside so I could stream through Riverside because everything on like my OBS was imported from StreamYard, I think. And so like everything was broken. Like it just couldn't function. And I was like, this is a nightmare. And now I've just never tried it again. And that was January.
Yeah, I haven't really played with Streamlabs all that much. I've mostly done OBS. And most of that is just me going, I know there's a way to do this thing, and then Googling how to do that thing. Like keying out a color so that you can have a frame that you can pop your face into, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I can. A lot of it is basic stuff, but
hey, that's more than what I know for sure. Jack, this has been absolutely delightful.
Pleasure.
I'm sorry. I did have one more very important question. Brennan gives good hugs? ?
Correct. Yeah.
Great. That's it. That was the question.
Yep. Good hugs.
Yeah. If the folks at home wanted to follow you on the internet, if someone wants to hire you, where can they find you?
They can find me at Jack LaFay, Morgan LaFay, pretty much anywhere on the internet. So outside of like LinkedIn, which is my actual full name, I think. But yeah, Jack LaFay on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, whatever. But yeah.
Amazing. Jack, thank you so much. This has been super fun, and hopefully people stop asking me to interview Caption people now, because it has been nonstop since this started of like people like literally like a comment a week guaranteed. Like someone was like, you should interview the Caption people. I'm like, I know. Anyway, Jack, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I don't know how to
stop asking Jordan to interview
stop asking me to
people.
Do things.
Just stop asking Jordan to do things. It's fine.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna hit stop recording.